is the video number 43 in the playlist that is for 3D Experience CATIA, the generative shape design application. The particular item that I'm going to be discussing is called reflect line icon. And this is something that apparently is extremely important in mold design and moldability. But since I'm not in that business, I just highlight the important aspects of what I understand. Here's the definition. You can create closed or open reflect lines. Reflect lines are the curves for which the normal to the surface in each point present the same angle with a specified direction. Okay. We'll get to that in a minute. This is a piece of text from internet. So once again, you can see that moldability is critical uh, for this application, or the other way around. When you're in generative shape design, on the wireframe tab, there is a pull-up menu here, and one of the items is reflect line that we're going to be discussing. And when it's clicked on, you get a dialog box like that. And notice there is two ways of doing this thing, under the cylindrical heading and on the conical heading. And we'll come to that in a minute. So what I'm going to be doing is following uh, this. I'm going to be repeating this video in 3D Experience CATIA interface, and also uh, this one, which is a simplified version of the whole process, which is very good. Now here's the help menu. Now this is where there's a question mark. Okay, what does this mean? They don't clarify that, but the information about cylindrical versus conical is given here. So for cylindrical, the normal to the surface at any point. So it's this the reflect line is the sort of all points on the surface where the normal to the surface at that point makes the same angle with a given direction. For the case of conical, the way it works is that you need to pick an origin. And when you pick the origin, at any point on the surface, you draw that line, and we're talking about the normal to the surface at that point makes a certain angle with the line that we just drew from the origin that we select to the point of interest. I know it's kind of uh, heavy to absorb this thing, but I suppose if you're in mold design, these things make sense. And here is some of the other pages. So let's go ahead and do an example. First thing I'm going to do is the surface. I'm going to be taking it to be, for example, sphere. So let me go to surface, sphere, center of it. I'm going to make origin. There we are. And uh, full sphere right there. Dimensions don't matter here. So I'm going to say, okay. So there's my surface. Let me hide these things. Hide them. Okay. So I'm going to go to wireframe, and under reflect line, it's a cylindrical case that we're looking at, and the support obviously is that sphere. The direction, it can be any direction, but I'm going to choose it to be Z because I don't want to draw a line here. Okay. And notice that this is the angle that you set. Let me make this thing 30 degrees. Let's say 20 degrees. And let's see what happens. So all the points on this thing, on this curve, reflect line, all the points, if you draw the normal to the surface, they make 20-degree angle with the direction Z. Now, notice that I can actually change this thing. For example, if you make the angle bigger, that circle becomes bigger, etc., etc. Now, the other thing is that if you, let me put this thing back to, say, 17, it really doesn't matter. If you say repeat object after, and say okay, it says how many of these do you want? Let's say I make 4 of them. There we are. So it basically repeats that process with the angle 17, and then 2 times 17, and then 3 times 17, etc. Now, this actually came from the second reference that I gave, and that's great. So now let me go and look at that other reference. The one that I did is essentially an example that was done here. And I'm using only cylindrical incidentally. Now I'm going to go and do this. So I'm going to create a surface like that, which is using fill to take the boundary down here and a point and put a surface on it. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let me start with uh, another file there. Okay. On the horizontal plane, I will sketch a rectangle like so. And on purpose, I'm going to kind of make it not centered there. That's fine. And then I'm going to create a point up there. So by coordinates. So let me go up, 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 up. There we are. Okay. So okay. And also, I'm going to make a point somewhere out here. The actual point doesn't matter. So I'm going to make it so that, let's say, make this thing 150 right there. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 200. Good. And also, I will give it x of 50. It really doesn't matter. So there's a point here, and there is a point there. Now, to make my surface, I'm going to go to Surface, Fill. For the fill, I'm going to select that boundary, and I want it to pass through that point, and say OK, and it puts a surface here. Good. Let me hide the sketch. That sketch I'm going to hide. And these planes I'm going to hide. OK, good. So once again, we go to Wireframe, Reflect Line. First, we start with cylindrical. Support is right there. Direction, why don't I make it Z once again? Okay. And for the angle, I'll just leave it the way it is and see how it's going to come out. Okay, obviously that angle is not good, so let me make it 30 right there, and then I say okay. What it says is that there are multiple solutions. You can actually see there's one over there, and there are several over here and one over there. So actually, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and change that angle to something that is more manageable. Let me go back here to that reflect line and make the angle, oh, it says 30 degrees. I mean it. I mean 30 degrees. That's what I wanted. Okay. And then say okay. And notice that it says you have several solutions, but at each of these points, the angle between the normal and the z direction is whatever I said, 30 degrees. Now you can select each one of them, etc. For example, I can do this. I can select all of them. Okay, so there are multiple solutions here with 30 degrees. Now, What I'm going to do, I'm going to make another one, but using conical one. So for example, we go to reflect line, conical, all right. Surf support is here. And now it wants the origins. For origin, I use this point, and I give an angle. Hopefully, it will not complain. Maybe make it, let's make it bigger, and then if it doesn't work, we're going to make it smaller. Yep, say OK, and say OK. So notice that there is two of them. One of them is for the second thing, the conical one. Right-click properties so that we can see it better. The color I'm going to change to red. So this is the one that was with the conical one, and this is the one which was with the cylindrical one, and there are multiple solutions. I selected them all, so the different ones. So let me see, hang in there. So let me make this thing properties. I'm going to change the color to green and say OK. So here's the situation. When it comes to the green one, the normal to the surface at each one of these points on this green one, and the z-axis is whatever I specified. When it comes to the red one, each point on the curve, each point on this red curve, if you connect it to the origin here, the angle between that line and the normal to the surface is whatever I specified for the conical case. Okay. As I said, if you're in mold design, apparently these are extremely important, and that's pretty much it. So good luck.